So it all started with the gnomes. Pandemic gnomes. No, I'm not going to tell you about some elaborate hallucination. I'm going to provide you a little context. Do we all remember the pandemic? Remember when the world shut down and all the things you used to know how to do and where to get stopped? During the pandemic, I isolated in my home with my husband and my 2 children. My parents live in Portland. I couldn't see them. I could talk to them, but I worried about them every single day. Living at home with my 2 children, one of them was suffering from a crisis-level depression that often became life-threatening, and I spent my entire pandemic doom spiraling. Will I lose a parent to the virus? Will I lose a child to depression? By the time Halloween rolled around, I knew we needed to do something to get out of this funk. We are a Halloween family, so we decided that we would have a Halloween display. My daughter decided the theme should be gnome invasion. Thank you to the power of the internet. Within 2 weeks, we had 35 different gnomes displayed in our yard in all sorts of spooky scenarios. Now, what happens to those 35 gnomes once Halloween is over? If you're like me, and much to the chagrin of my husband, I am like me, I put them into our raised bed garden, which is open to the street, because it made me laugh. I also discovered that it made other people in my neighborhood laugh, and I kept growing my collection of gnomes, and my neighbors contributed to my collection of gnomes. During this time, my sister followed my activities from Portland via Facebook, and when it was finally safe to visit, because we'd all been vaccinated, I went to Portland, and she showed me a number of little oddities in the Portland neighborhood where she lived, including a dog-themed fairy garden. And I became obsessed. In fact, I became competitive. I decided that I was going to build the biggest, the weirdest fairy garden that the world has ever gnomed. Wow. Strangeland started on a corner of our lot in a neighborhood in Greenwood that gets a fair amount of foot traffic. I started by putting a handful of fairy garden houses, some miniature fencing, a little pond, a handful of plastic dinosaurs, and it just went from there. Strangeland became one of my favorite things to work on, and I spent time out in my yard putting in little vignettes, making little new compilations using some plastic animals and super glue in exciting ways. And eventually I started feeling better. Now, scientific evidence shows that engaging in arts and crafts can raise your sense of well-being. And that's real. They also show that artistic endeavors are an effective way to fight depression. And for me, that really worked. But what worked even more than that was that I was able to engage with my neighbors. People stopped by to let me know that they're liking what they saw. Parents walking their kids through the neighborhood to the park each day would stop and explore the little vignettes. And all of these things led to me feeling more connected and less inside my depressing head of death and destruction, and more into my weird, which is good. What I also was learning is that I was not alone in this endeavor to make the world way weirder. There are a number of places in Seattle where people have either little free libraries, little free art galleries, pop-up bakeries, fairy gardens, dog gardens, house decorations that change on a cadence. And that's just there to make people feel good and to make other people feel good. I visit what is known as Sidewalk Joy, both in Seattle and in Portland, Oregon, and I'll stop by a place and sometimes leave a little present or a complimentary compliment, which I hope you'll take in the lobby. What I like to say is that kindness is free, so you should pass it on. Any of these little acts of happiness help spark joy in other people and hopefully will bring people together. Maybe it'll be the thing that helps move someone over that hard period in their life. Something else is very free. Weird is free. And if you happen to have a little weird, spread it around. makes your kindness go so much farther. Thank you.